Hey there, buddy! Welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke, and this is another grading video. And we'll be working on a little stack of Batman comic books today. This video will probably go about 15 or 20 minutes long, as we just have a little bit of fun exploring some Batman comics, talking about Batman comics, and maybe trading some tips on the finer points of grading. Just a little bit about me. Again, you can see some prior videos if you want the full 411, but I do grade comic books. You will see these books listed on eBay. The username, the seller name is .com Comics. We also have a website, .comcomics.com. The physical store is in Freeport, Maine. And we also buy comics through a website called sellmycomicbooks.com. And when we buy collections and they come in, we do unboxing videos. And you can see those on the YouTube channel, Sell My Comic Book. So again, as I've said before, this really isn't a commercial for the company. I'm just kind of letting you know who I am, what I do. But this is Shanghai is my own personal channel. This is just a fun way for me to kind of warm up for my work day. So kind of, I take about 20 minutes kind of on my own time here, although I will process these books for work. Just kind of on my own time, just kind of having fun, talking about grading books and talking about comic books in general. And so I hope you enjoy. And please do like, share, subscribe, do all the groovy things. And please do comment, enter that dialogue below. Whether you want to object to my grading, you just want to talk about these particular books, anything at all, the comments are wide open. And of course, you can reach me on all of the social medias. And by all, I mean Parler, Instagram, and Twitter as @DuragoDuke. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. And let's have some fun. So, this is kind of an interesting book. We got some Black Panther action going on here. And I don't know if inside, if it actually mentions the Black Panthers or if they're kind of a comic book stand-in group. Looks like Robin has his own backup story. Supposed to be grading of the book, and I just get excited talking about the book. Look at all those names and addresses. Not full addresses, but name and town. You probably wouldn't see that in a book today. I wonder if there are any... This is some kind of survey DC did. And so they print all the name of the people, like all the kids who want a bicycle, a record player, a transistor radio. Ooh! Remember when transistors were the hot new technology? I'm just scanning it quickly out of curiosity, and I don't know the degree to which you can actually read this. I'm just wondering if anybody who went on to become a comic book professional, if their name is listed here. And nothing is jumping out at me. I see a Ronald Wade, not a Mark Wade, but a Ronald Wade. So, no. Okay, well, that was a few minutes wasted. So, I pick up the book, I take a kind of a quick assessment. I go, good, fine, or near mint, and then I start narrowing it down. And then at some point I sort of convert in my brain from the what I call the real grades to the number grading. That I'm an old dog, and number grading is a new trick, but still, even after all these years. So we have all of these ticks here, not even ticks, these are some actual tears here along the spine, some blunting, some folding on both corners. But is the book overall rough enough to drop it down from a fine to a very good? Well, I'd say it's pretty darn close. Let's take a look at the centerfold, make sure that's tight. If I can find it. Oh, look at that. Columbia House Record Club. Destroyed many a young person's credit, including my own. Until I figured out I could join under fake names. I probably should mention that. I don't know what the statute of limitations is on ripping off Columbia House Record and Tape Club. So I think I'm going to call that a... if it was just this amount of damage along the side, I might call it a 5. But with that and these corners, here and here, and some color fading there, And some stressing here. Some colored chipping all through there. I'm going to call that a 4.5. So what do you think? How would you grade that book? And I understand that the tripod, I have the iPad on that I'm using for filming. I can't get it quite far enough away that you can see the entire cover. So I hope I'm not moving it around too fast and giving you vertigo. But again, I'm going to call that a 4.5. So how well is that book, Batman 230 and 4.5, how well is that going to do on eBay? It's probably still a $5, $6, $7 book. I mean, it's worth selling as a single, I think. You know, you get down below $5 and they tend not to be worth the labor cost of grading. And of course, when I'm actually grading for real, I work a lot faster than this, but the labor cost of grading and listing and shipping. So, you know, if it had been me sorting the books, that particular book, I might have put in a lot with, you know, 4 or 5 similarly graded books. But even as a single, I think that'll probably still bring $5 or $6. So this is 233. It's not bad. We've got some, well, it's not great either, but we've got some yellowing here along the spine. And of course, as a giant, this will be a little harder to find in high grade anyway. We've got some fingerprints here and here. So whoever owned this book originally was one grubby little child. And some tears here on the spine, on the staples, and both staples are kind of recessed. But the cover is attached, as you can see. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know how the light is for you. The inside's okay. We looked at the centerfold, that was tight. The back cover's okay. So I would be inclined to call that a 5 with these tears and the recessed staples and the other stuff going on. But I really don't like the fingerprints because that really lowers the presentation value. You know, something can be a 5 but still be a presentable book, something you wouldn't be ashamed to hang on your wall. You know, with proper UV protection, of course. But with these fingerprints in the cover, I think I'm going to call that a 4.5. It's not quite bad enough to be a 4. I think a 4.5 is appropriate, as is the notation in the description to fingerprints in cover. Just because somebody might not look at the scan carefully on eBay, carefully enough to notice that, and then they'll get mad when they get it. So we want to be able to say, well, it was in the description. Now this is a nice, better looking book. I mean, it's still got some issues. You got a chip there, a little piece that wants to come out and probably will by the time it's shipped. But you know, you got a bend here, thing going on there. Robin still looks kind of young there. You know, this is the era of the teen wonder, but he could pass for early teens, 12 even, at least as depicted as drawn there. So got some wrinkling here on this side. Again, the spine's yellowing a little bit. It's not printed. It's not. The cover isn't wrapped and stapled straight, but that's more of a printing defect. And printing defects generally, for the most part, don't affect the grade. Because we're grading on the actual defects as it came off the press, or since it came off the press. There's some kind of soiling here on the top of that cover. I don't know how well you can see it. And along the side. But the inside looks okay, and the centerfold is tight. Cover itself is tight. Who is this? Dick Giordano. Oh, art by Neil Adams. Okay. So this book, with art by Neil Adams. Ooh, look at that. Is this the parade? The big parade issue? Sorry, I am... For some reason, around this period of time, it is, look at that. Rutland, Vermont used to have a parade of some kind, a superhero parade. I don't know anything about it in reality outside of the comic books. But there were a couple of years there where the comic books had a real fascination with this Rutland, Vermont, or Rutledge, Vermont, where is it? Rutland, Vermont Halloween parade. And it was featured in several stories. And I think some of these characters, because the actual writers actually appeared in these as themselves. And one of these fellas is probably, because that's Dick Grayson, I think, without reading it. But one of these, I think, is Elliot S. Maggin, who was a comic book writer at the time. So that's interesting. And that's a kind of a classic splash page right there. So the Neil Adams art, the Rutland, Vermont superhero parade, Halloween parade, that all makes this book very very collectible, very interesting. The grade's a little low, but this will still do well. I bet you this goes for $20 at least. And like I said, like I've said before, if not in this video, about a week after this video goes up online, you will see this book on eBay under the .com Comics seller name. So I've been talking so much here and just kind of looking and feeling, and hell, as long as we're at it, let's smell this book. Love the smell of newsprint. Yes, I do. That's why I like Alterna Comics. I like smelling me some newsprint. Don't need any of those clay pages. So I think I'm going to call this, I'm going to go as high as I'm going to call this a 5. You got, again, this corner here, it's not going to be a 5.5, and the question is, does it lower it down to a 4.5? And I don't think it really does, because you got a couple of splits here, but they're more color breaks than actual splits, although you got a little split there. Not really split, I should say tear. So I'm going to call that a 5. I'm going to call that a 5. And we'll see what it goes for. I bet you it'll be at least 20. You watch if it isn't. That was a fun book. I liked looking at that one. So 5 and no real defects in particular to mention. And here we get another book. Now this one's in even better shape. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry about that. We've got a spine split here. It's about a 1.5 inch bottom spine split. A little cover tear there. If it wasn't for that, this book would probably be up in the 7 range. 7, probably not quite 7.5, because you got all this going on. So, So this book, and this is kind of the difference here. You know, it's often the accumulation of defects. Columbia House centerfold. Donny Osmond, where is he? I saw him. Look at that. The big featured album is Donny Osmond, Three Dog Night, Sly and the Family Stone, Santana. So yeah, these are both 5s. But see now, which one looks better to you? See now, to me, and I think you can see both of those pretty well. To me, this one looks a lot better at first. This one has, again, this accumulation of defects around this corner, and right in here, you know, some handling issues, not handled with, or maybe handled with a little more love than would have been appropriate. This one is tighter and cleaner along the edges, and the center part doesn't have as much wear, so it's a nicer looking copy. But you have this spine split. you've got the spine split here, about 1.5 inches with that little, I don't know what caused that. And you got a little bit of a split there at that top. And you've got some blunting here. And if you look, the book is starting to roll a little bit. So I'm going to call them both 5s, even though this one is basically, you know, a couple of major defects that make it a 5, and this one is more of an accumulation of things that make it less presentable. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Put these in my book, in my box. And I think we've got 2 of these, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we do. Look at that. 2 of them. 2 of these, number 243. And let's do this one first. So I think they're both probably going to end up being about, this one's worse. So be do. So we've got, you know, a bunch of tears here, which show up more on a black cover, which is unfortunate, but, you know, it is what it is. Is this a Neil Adams cover too? I think it is. So it will do well, even despite. And you've got a bend here, and you've got some kind of color flaking there. Back looks okay. If you looked at the back, you wouldn't see any of those tears. Paper quality is nice. Let's find that center fold and see how it looks. Nice and tight. That's good. Nothing cut out or missing. Cover's nice and tight. So basically our issue is these here. And, you know, is it a 5 or a 5.5? You know, is it a fine minus or a very good fine? Well, I think for me, the accumulation of tears there, plus the size of them, plus that bend there, this is going to be a 5. Not good enough that I can go a 5.5. What do you think? But I am going to call that a 5. So we've just had 3 books, all radically different looking, all 5s. And that's just the difference between a few major, a bunch of minor defects. And then, of course, the, 5 is kind of at once both the easiest and the hardest grade, I find, because it can easily end up being a catch-all, because it's real easy to just call something a 5. That very good fine. And a lot of people use a 5.0 as a crutch, I find. And so, it's easy to lump things in, so it's kind of overused. But at the same time, it's hard, because it's like, how do you break it out of a 5? When do you get to the point when you have just too much going on that it's got to be a 4.5, but it's still not bad enough to be a 4? When do you have, little enough going on that you could get away with a 5.5, even if you, 5.5, even if you can't quite get to a 6. So that's my little exposition on that. So this book is much better. These stress tears here are not nearly as numerable or as deep. We have a little stress thing here in this corner, but not nearly as much as the other one. The center part is cleaner and flatter, with fewer color breaks from handling. We do have a couple of micro tears here along this edge, probably where it was being held while it was being read, at least once or twice. But I could easily get away with a 5, easy 5.5. The question is, can we call it a 6? So let's look around here. Little tiniest bit of browning on the back cover. The pages, like that previous issue, are decent. Not bright white, but not really to the tanning phase yet. Let's find that centerfold. Did I pass it already? Oh, geez, I might have. There it is. And that's all nice and tight. And the front cover is, again, nice and tight. Maybe even better than the previous one. So, I would call that a 6, except for these micro tears here, a little bit of bending and some smudging of the ink there. Again, that's somewhere where, you know, somebody held it. It looks like they handled it pretty carefully, but just the handling and the oil on their fingers right here where they were, you know, holding it. That right there just keeps it from being a 6. Otherwise, I might, even though, you know, you got kind of heavy here, I might get away with calling it a 6 except for that. So I'm going to go with a 5.5. 5.5, Land Sakes Alive. And that's going to be it for this video, I think. What are we at? 21 minutes. So that is going to be it. We'll have to save Raz or Raish, or however you like to say it. We'll save him for next time. Until then, please do like, share, and subscribe. Leave any comments below. Get that dialogue kicking. And, you know, until next time, please do keep reading comics. And good night, good luck, and please be good to each other.